Writing characters is one of the most essential things you can work on when writing a story. I mean, duh. One of those aspects that you can work on is character dynamics. Welcome back, my little artists and writers. I am O.Othman, and today I will explain what character dynamics is, how to do it, and how you can improve your characters' relationships with each other, and to overall achieve a much richer and better dynamic. I mean, it's character dynamics, it's in the name. Yalla, let's go. Party 1. What are character dynamics? Character dynamics, by definition, is the relationships and interactions between characters in a story. In simpler words, it's how two characters view each other based on their personalities, which dictates their actions and dialogue tones. Like how two characters would treat each other and how it would differ from another two sets of two characters. It could elevate, or hell ya ammi, it could even challenge those two characters' agendas and beliefs and worldviews. Okay, so you know those like art, you know those like art things, those samey looking ship trope drawings. You know, like those character trope thing drawings. Yeah, it's basically those. But it doesn't have to be only for ships. It could be for any character in general. To give examples on dynamics, maybe you could say best friends, you could probably say enemies forced to be allies, you could say dumb and that's my dummy, mentor and student, old violent man and young sweet girl. You can name it. There's infinite amounts of character dynamics that you can create, which is why we will learn how we can implement them into our story. Now that you have a clue of what character dynamics is, let's move on. Part 2. How to make character dynamic. Okay, yeah, the joke's getting old, isn't it? I decided to sketch out a basic cast of characters so we can use them as an example. Now, for shows that don't really focus too heavily on character dynamics or just don't regard it in general, it may end up looking like this, and this sucks. Astaghfirullah al-azim. It's too shallow and uneven, and it can worsen your characters' interactions when together due to how bland and empty it is. There's barely any lines to begin with, and the lines that do exist are just they barely explain anything, and it just isn't good at all. So if you want to create character dynamics, you'll have to arrange your cast's specific roles in a story. So that way you could put them in simple categories like main characters with the protagonist and deuteragonist, closer main characters like the three tetragonists and the side characters, and you could put them, like in the antagonist and the supporting characters that are prevalent to the story but not really, you know, that important. And if you wanna, for the fun of it, just add a joke character if you want. But that's not our focus for today. All right, not our focus for today. Let's use our main characters first. We'll call them Skeeto and Mechabot. Alright? Let's say for the story, the relationship could be described as creator creation type. You know, a creator that creates something, mostly a robot or a monster in usual stories, and there would be an interaction between the two. Alright? In one way you can determine what character dynamics these two would have is comparing personalities, traits, beliefs, and ambitions. Let's say Skeeto is more creative but is held back by their shyness and anxiety. This is good as it gives you both personality and it gives you conflict that they would have to deal with in the story. Let's say Mechabot is quite the opposite. Mechabot would be confident, they would be loud, but they may lead to trouble that'll have Skeeto deal with it. With all of this, we can decide how they would interact. Due to being opposites, Mechabot pushes Skeeto into situations that require more action. Skeeto would pull Mechabot back from acting recklessly all the time, and sometimes would require them to be grounded in a way. So, when connecting the line of their dynamics, they'd be considered master machine that are polar opposites, like completely opposites in a way. And since they seem to cooperate, the relationship would be beyond the neutral, even if they disagree at things. This makes them multidimensional, which improves the interest of those characters and their depths, which, it makes them more interesting because they're more than just one archetype. And that way, you can see how different they are, yet they still are together, in a way. Part 3. how to improve your character dynamics. Now, what if I told you that there's a way that you can develop the dynamic even more? Instead of one line that connects the two characters, what if there are two lines? Isn't that just so special? That way we can see what each character thinks of the other rather than seeing a singular line that says what the two think of each other in an equal way. For example, let's say the Mechabot would see Sneeko as a master to Sneeko. Sorry, I meant Astaghfirullah al-Azim. Would see Skeeto, I'm gonna have to make a video about properly naming characters to be honest, would see Skeeto as a master to serve but very annoyed by their shyness and lack of bravery, which is due to their opposite personality. They do respect their master, but they wouldn't outright admit it, because they're just so tough and alpha male, and for Skeeto, there I said it right this time, he'd see his invention as just the number one achievement in his life. But because he's so lonely, he would see it as the only friend to talk to, and just in general, due to their shyness and anxiety, not letting them meeting other people. And you can see how the two-way dynamic can be useful for characters that might be enemies or opposite in beliefs and how one differs from the other. Like, it doesn't really make any sense to put two characters and say hate onto the singular line that connects the two. Because in reality, people don't exactly think of the other people just exactly the same way. Like, sometimes someone may like someone, but that other person doesn't like you. And this is a difference that the one-way line doesn't really explain it. This phenomenon, I'm going to call it a two-way, two-way character dynamic where there will be two lines and each showing what one character thinks of the other to show difference. This develops characters even more and it differentiates characters, which enriches the quality of your character development and your character writing, and it is extremely essential, and I totally recommend it for everyone to use. And basically, for what I said, just do that with other main characters in your series. It will be tedious but an effective task to strengthen your characters. Instead of when you put two random characters in a room, their interactions would differ from another two pairs of characters in a room. Listen, not every character is gonna have an extremely unique dynamic with every other character. Alright, that's just not possible, and that's okay. Shows with fewer characters sometimes would have an easier job than a series with longer arcs and a larger cast. Which only makes shows with fewer characters yet lackluster dynamics all the more pathetic. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video today, my little artists and writers, and we will meet next time. O.Othman, I'm out.